sure you know where
Hello
you're
there
going?
guys, this is Uncharted 2, Among Thieves, Crushing Difficulty, Tranq gun only. This is mission 2, breaking and entering, and again we're not going to get much chance, or I'm not going to get much chance rather, to show the tranquilizer gun off properly, because this is the mission where you actually use it, so not much changes here for it, as I get stuck on the platforming. So this mission is probably a bit of a low point in the game. Now the character interactions between Nate and Flynn are class. I'm certainly not going to take anything away from that. But the stealth involved is pretty poor.
We must have made a wrong turn somewhere.
And I do think with this collection, this collection, I imagine there's a lot of people who had Xbox 360s who then picked up PS4s, because I mean, who would buy an Xbox One after E3 2013?
In like Flynn, right?
I'm sure they picked up PS4s, and then when they saw this Uncharted collection, you know, if they're open-minded enough to get a PS4, they're definitely thinking, they've definitely heard of Uncharted. So I'm sure they went to go buy it, this collection that is. Probably thought that's great. They probably play Uncharted 1, and it's, you know, as much as I love Uncharted 1 and I'll defend it a lot, it has aged poorly. It's very clunky, especially compared to something like Gears of War 1, which combat has aged really well and still plays amazing. Uncharted 1, that's just not the case. So they probably play that, and if they're like most people, I would guess you kind of give up after a few missions. You're certainly not finishing that game, I wouldn't have thought, unless you're quite dedicated. You probably then move on to this game, and you will have heard of Uncharted 2, and you'll probably think, wow, this is the big one, this will be class. And then you're probably here on the stealth section, and you're probably thinking, what are people on about with this franchise? That's how dodgy this stealth is. But we'll crack on. Let's say Chapter 3, guys, that's when we'll see actual combat, and we'll see what this challenge is all about. I mean, I can't believe that guy in Mission 1 actually gave me a bit of trouble, that one guy. Thankfully this should flow quite smoothly. I do know how to get through all this.
This is the way to the
I would expect to get spotted a few times though, because the stealth is just dodgy.
We're not going this way.
And this is someone who loves stealth in games. You know, Metal Gear Solid, Splinter Cell, all that.
Around here somewhere. You got it.
But yeah, Uncharted 2, great game. Just not this mission. So I won't have to activate the Tranq gun for this. I'll try and do it legit. It's interesting with Naughty Dog and stealth, because Uncharted 1 doesn't really feature any kind of stealth. I think there's like 2 guys that you can kill in the whole game using stealth. This game kind of opened it up a bit, because there's a few moments you can use stealth, and I may have to employ some of those tactics during this playthrough, just to thin numbers out a bit using the Tranq gun.
Just stick to the plan.
And Uncharted 3 also didn't really do much with it, same kind of thing. And then The Last of Us came out, which is probably Naughty Dog's best product. And stealth was absolutely fantastic in that game. It was key, mixing that with the survival horror. And then Uncharted 4 stealth, in my opinion, was absolutely awful. I just never wanted to engage in it. Even though they tried to make the mechanics more in depth, there was just something that didn't click with me, and that game's stealth. Just to be clear, I absolutely love Uncharted 4 though. I just don't think the stealth aged very well. So it's a funny trajectory with Naughty Dog and stealth. And this probably isn't the best time to talk about Naughty Dog. I'm going to try and refrain from talking about The Last of Us 2. And, as of when I'm releasing this, all the leaks have come out about Last of Us 2. And it's funny because they could all turn out to be wrong and changed. But as of right now, Naughty Dog just could be done. Honestly, could be just completely in the shit. I mean, I wasn't interested in The Last of Us 2 anyway. I had some big concerns going in. And I think those concerns have been completely validated, even more so than my original concerns.
Shit.
But we're going to engage in some stealth.
I got him.
So I love Drake's little like crouch run. It just looks so strange and like floaty. A few things about the recording. I'm using the PS4's recording features, so it's not running at a sexy 60 frames per second. It is running at 30 FPS. But hey, think of it as it running as the game originally came out in PS3. This is how it looked. But I'm playing it at a much smoother frame rate than you're actually seeing it. So. Just something to bear in mind. But it's like this, using this cover here, it's awkward. That's how it's quite sticky. And you feel it a lot more in Uncharted 1.
Night, sunshine.
I love how Drake doesn't want to kill people, but that guy's dead. Like, that guy's definitely dead. He's just smashed his head in like against a rock. Not a rock, but like a, cold pavement, basically. That guy's brain's gone. It's mush. Either that or he's in a coma dreaming about being a policeman in the 1970s. One of those two. So let's have a melee sesh.
Night, night, sunshine.
It's really funny how floaty the bodies are. That's something I don't remember from the original game. I feel like that's something that's come from the HD collection, but it's been a long time since I played Uncharted 2 on the PS3 to verify that.
Come on, what are you waiting for?
I played Uncharted 1 on the PS3 a lot more than I did this one. But now we've got a bit of an open stealth section. Thankfully I've done it about 200 times.
You go left.
So I know all the routes. As Drake's just going around killing people. I mean, I could use a tranq gun here, but it would probably make this a lot easier. So I'd like to go up here, drop down. Should be alright here. That was quick enough. And that's as clear through this area. That can go a bit messy, actually. The game has a lot of these unskippable in-game cutscenes. Because normally I would like to skip this, but it's technically in-game. Because if you ever do a speedrun of this game on the HD collection, it will count all these on your speedrun, which can be particularly painful on some of the trophies that require you to get a certain time. Thankfully they're not too difficult to get. I actually only platinumed this game recently, and it was... I'll say this much for platinums, they're alright until you have to collect like 101 treasures. Thankfully this game you do actually get rewards for that. Because I have a big problem with collectibles when they don't actually give you anything in game other than a trophy. Because in my opinion, if that's the reason for having collectibles in your game, don't have them in.
1, 2, 3.
I don't mind if it's like story-like details, like those kind of collectibles, like notes, like The Last of Us or Uncharted 4, because they really flesh out the game world really well. Or even Resident Evil. Resident Evil was, I think, one of the first to do that. I don't want to say one of the first, but one of my earliest memories of like games using notes was Resident Evil.
Easy. Easy.
But so many games now just, I mean, take the Modern Warfare 2 campaign remaster that's just come out. There's a trophy for obviously getting all the intel pieces. On the original Modern Warfare 2, you didn't get anything for getting all 46 intel pieces other than a trophy. And I don't see the point. Thankfully with the remaster they've actually fixed that, because you do actually get you get some cheats, which is quite cool. This is a bit awkward, that. I mean, we'll leave that guy to drown, but we're not killing people, because they're just museum guards, in the words of Nate. I mean, I don't think that would take him out, Nate, but whatever. I'm happy this has gone alright so far, because typically the curse of the camera is it all goes wrong when I start recording. But this is going alright so far. It will all go very wrong in the next chapter, I'm guaranteed of that.
There's a lot of bloody windows.
So I mentioned in mission 1 that I had done a bit of testing on hard. I did some of the missions with Chloe, missions like 5, 6 and 7, etc. And those all went pretty smooth. Nothing to worry about using the tranq there. It works, because I was worried about some game breaking where, you know, I couldn't actually use the tranq gun in some sections. And I did the train section, and to my surprise it worked absolutely fine. I had to use the grenade on one moment, where there's like one of those big guys with the miniguns. I'm worried about the section just before the train, because there's a bit where you have to do almost like a bit of sniping, which could be a bit of a concern. But we'll see how it goes. I tested the tranq gun on the blue guys in the game towards the end, and that worked okay actually, so that's good. I'm not sure about the range on this actually. There we go, it's alright. So that's the range I find is a bit inconsistent and weird.
Get up to that walkway.
So we'll have a lot of fun with using it. There we go. Wasn't helping me then. So yeah, I tested the end of the game, and the only section I'm worried about is after the train crash.
All we need is a horse.
Is when I've got to like survive a gauntlet. I'm not sure how the tranq will do taking out those guys with miniguns. So that's my only concern, but hopefully I should get through it. I think I can do.
Good thing one of us thought ahead, eh?
One of the things I will be using is the third person cover technique, and if you don't know what that is, it's basically shooting from cover without using cover, which if you've never heard of or you've seen this mechanic, what I've just said there sounds like gibberish. But it's one of the most, you know, useful tools in third person games to attack enemies without basically being hit. It's something that is essential on harder difficulties on these games like Gears of War and Uncharted. You'll definitely see it in effect in Mission 3, and I'll mention it there as well. And so we've got to do a bit of platforming here. It's funny just how much Uncharted 4 improved the platforming, and then going back to these games kind of hurts in a way. Because with these games, platforming, for the most part, it works absolutely fine. But I'd say it's like a... You know, sometimes when you do a jump and you die, it can feel a bit 50-50, and not really your fault you died. But Uncharted 4, if you're messing up jumps, it's more like 90-10. Yeah, as in, you know, if you've messed a jump up, it's pretty much your fault. You know, the game's going to get it spot on 90-95% of the time. And it'd be really interesting, maybe there's an alternate universe where an Uncharted, you know, they remake Uncharted 1, 2 and 3 in the Uncharted 4 formula, you know, using like the hook and stuff, and ropes, and they improve jumping, and the less cartoony looking graphics. I wonder what that timeline's like. It's also probably a timeline where they don't cut stuff out of Resident Evil 3 remakes. But I'm going to talk about Uncharted. I don't want to talk about much other stuff. I'm going to completely refrain, as I said earlier, talking about Naughty Dog. You know, when Naughty Dog's crashing and burning like it is now, this is how I would like to remember them, though. You know, games like this. Not sections like this, but, you know, games like this. You know, the Uncharted collection. 1, 2, 4, because I don't really like 3. One of the things about this challenge I'm doing is I was trying to see if it'd be possible on the other Uncharted's, but unfortunately I don't think there's any real sort of like challenge gun I could use with those. Uncharted 1 I'm aware of had nothing anyway, which is a bit of a shame. I'm going to interrupt this tangent actually and show you a little Easter egg. So Drake throws that guy in the water, and obviously doesn't want to kill anybody, but the game actually addresses this. Look, he's there swimming. I always thought it's a really cool Easter egg actually. Because I remember actually thinking to myself, surely Drake's killed that guy. But little Easter egg there to show he's not quite the psychopath he's all built up to be.
I can see your house. Let's get moving.
I mean, that still looks pretty impressive, that view. Even, what, 11 years after the release, which is just mad. 11 years.
There's a guard right below you.
Makes you just wonder, where does the time go? Good old 11 years ago when we didn't have to all stay indoors all the time.
Nearly there. Yeah.
I mean, 2009 winter period was absolutely mad for games. We had obviously this, Uncharted 2, Modern Warfare 2, Assassin's Creed 2. It's coming off the top of my head, and not so much in the winter, but there was games like Killzone 2, Resistance 2, all coming out.
We can't get any closer with the tower.
I think Halo 3 ODST would have come out if you're on Xbox.
Come on, Chloe.
Like, just a ridiculous time for games.
That's my girl.
You know, and people try and kid themselves that it's amazing now. It's really not, compared to what we used to be getting 10 years ago. Just phenomenal. I mean, nowadays, you know, I mean, just look at where Call of Duty is in comparison to then. But we've almost finished this mission, guys. Thankfully. I can't wait to get to Chapter 3 and actually get into the real stuff.
Okay. We're clear.
As a big plot twist, we're going to get betrayed. Sorry if I spoiled this game for you. I mean, it is 11 years old. You should have played it by now.
Ladies first. Cute.
And as I said, this is not a playthrough to see the story. We're purely for the gameplay. The gameplay is probably going to be absolutely disgusting and awful using this Tranq gun, because it's just not how the game's meant to be. But spoilers, there you go, we got betrayed, so now we're going to have to dodge some lasers.
Damn it, Flynn.
Which, these guys with the lasers and the snipers in this game are actually just laughable.
No.
Compare them to Halo 2 on Legendary, those snipers, then I can't even, there's not even a comparison to be made. They're just ridiculous. Can you even die in this? I know you can get caught, but I don't think there's any way of dying. I mean, these levels, there's actually nothing to distinguish them between, like, easy difficulty and crushing. It's all pretty much the same.
Use your head, Nate. Use your head.
So, we just gotta run away.
Get out of here. There we go. There we go.
So just keep jumping, there's the ladder, and we're out of here. But I'm gonna stop commentating, guys, because I'll see you for Mission 3, and we'll actually see a bit of combat. See you then.